Maybe this is like an odd observation, but according to my handy dandy note card, I read a lot of books with the letter R in them this month. So this was in... Why isn't there like a good R adjective? This was a Rumpelstiltskin month. You know, we're gonna go with that. Just pretend it doesn't have a negative connotation and we shall proceed. Hey everybody, welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Maya, and today we will be going over my April reading wrap-up. I only read 3 physical books this month, which is very strange for me, but I've really gotten into audiobooks, so I'd like to thank Susan at Sus Reads for that. She is a big audiobook fan, and she encouraged me to pick up several more. Thank you, Susan. Much love. Before we jump into the books, I would also love to thank books&violets, who gave me a shout out in her last video, and that made my whole day. I was just sitting on my spinny chair at my desk, just smiling and whacking my knees against the desk as I spun in circles, and it was fantastic. So thank you so much. You all should go check out her channel. I'll link it down below along with Susan's. And yeah, let's get into the April reading wrap up. Alrighty everyone, the first book I read this month was in fact an audiobook, and it was Her Royal Highness. Her Royal Highness follows Millie, who was born and raised in Texas, and her adventures going to a Scottish kind of private school for her senior year of high school. And while she's there, she has a roommate named Flora, and Flora happens to be the Princess of Scotland. So that's a weird culture shock for our dear pal Millie. But this is a romance. It was a fun story to read. It wasn't my favorite. I don't really read a lot of teen romances, but it was cute. The Thanksgiving scene was spot on. I'd recommend it if you're looking for kind of a lighter read to get you through this trying time. The next novel I read was also an audiobook and was also a British-ish, United Kingdom-ish romance. And that was Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I do, of course, have a review for that novel, which I will link above. I understand why it's hyped. It's a romance between the first son of the United States and Prince Henry of Wales. And it is cute. They're so adorable together. It wasn't my cup of tea. That doesn't mean it won't be yours. The main reason I didn't love Red, White, and Royal Blue was because it was supposed to be an enemies to lovers story, and they were enemies for approximately 10 pages, and then they were lovers the entire rest of the book. There was also a ton of sex scenes in this book. I don't have anything against sex in books, but this just seemed monotonous. So I give this 2.5 out of 5 stars. But if you are into romances and want to support LGBTQ romances, which we should 100% be doing, check out Red, White, and Royal Blue. Alrighty, the next book I read was not a book. It was in fact a play, and it was in fact for my theater class, and that was The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. I gave this play a 5 out of 5, and I still don't think I quite understand it completely. The Importance of Being Earnest follows a man named Jack Worthing, and Jack Worthing has an alias, an alter ego, if you will, and he names his alter ego something. I believe it's Ernest. How curious. And his friend Algernon, who also has an alter ego or an alias, and his is named Bunbury. And these two men are using different identities in order to deal with the struggles of Victorian life. And the amount of... One sec, let me let Kona out of my room.
I love you. I love you. You want to come back in? Okay. Can I close the door?
Anywho, these two men have different identities because they're grappling with the extreme pressures and social norms of Victorian England. This is a satire. It's a British comedy, so it's dry, it's very wildish, and I loved it. Oh, hi!
That's fine, just don't sit on my books, okay?
And at the heart of the story, this is about 2 love stories that are made difficult by the fact that Victorian England had such strict social structures. and was so judgmental in its perception of people. This next book is My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Otessa Moshfegh. This has been an interesting read for me. I loved it, 100%. It was a 5 out of 5 star book for me, but I know some people did not love it. What I loved about this book was it questioned perception and it questioned point of view, because we all live life through a lens. We're seeing it as ourselves, through our problems, through our struggles, and through our joys, and hence we cannot be objective in our overall view of life. This book, ladies and gents, did that so well, because the main character was pretty much on drugs to make her sleep the entire time. So she was a very unreliable narrator. When I finished, I realized that we don't learn the name of this main character. It reminds me of Fleabag in that way. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that show. The writing is brilliant. There were only like 3 named characters total in this book, and I really enjoy when books do that, because you feel so close to the character, or like you can understand what they're going through, you empathize with them, and then you realize you don't even know the most basic thing about them. Like you've seen into their soul and their heart and their flashbacks, but you don't know their name. Mainly the reason I love this book is because I felt like it was a hyperbolic metaphor or an illusion for coping. Everyone is going through something in life. That is something I firmly believe. And in this book, this character is dealing with mental illness and just wanting to sleep and drown out life because it's become too overwhelming and too unexciting and too mundane for her. This book shows coping in a really unhealthy manner, but it shows how sometimes we need to take the steps that are best for us, and we need to listen to our friends and lean on our friends and lean on the people in our lives to get better or to improve a situation that is troubling us. Nothing happens in this book whatsoever other than she goes to get coffee from the bodega, which I thought was like a gazebo, but apparently it's more like a gas station without the gas, you know? Anyway, 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. I know some people don't, and I think that's super cool, because then we can have a conversation. The next book I read was Lucky in Love by Casey West. Lucky in Love follows our main character, Madeline, and Madeline has a very difficult family life, and because of that, she feels she will not be able to go to a college out of state because she wants to be able to come back home and help her parents and brother out. This all changes. There's a bug in my room. It's okay, as long as it doesn't bite me, we're good. This all changes on her 18th birthday when she goes to a Walmart and buys a lottery ticket because her birthday is sucking and her friends have kind of forgotten about it and she's feeling really down in the dumps. So she buys a lottery card, ticket, whatever you call them. I'm guessing you know what comes next, and I'm not going to articulate it in case you do not like spoilers. But this story is about her dealing with her newfound life path, her newfound privilege, and it's also a romance with a boy she works with at the zoo named Seth. He's actually a really well-developed love interest. A lot of the times, YA, specifically male love interests, are just a pretty face. There's not much to them. But Seth had dementia, and I really enjoyed that. There's also an anteater in this book, and it was so cute. I love anteaters now. So yeah, I like that one. I gave it a solid 3.5 out of 5. Because I quite enjoyed the audiobook for Lucky in Love, I decided to pick up another Casey West book, and that was The Fillin Boyfriend. The Fillin Boyfriend I didn't like quite as much. It's about a girl who's pretty much dumped on prom night, and she has to ask this random guy in the parking lot, who's the brother of one of the girls that goes to the school, if he would mind being her fake date. And this results, obviously, in quite a bit of problems between her and her friends because they see her as a liar, whereas she felt like they would abandon her because she's, like, really popular. Didn't love the protagonist as much, but I will say I quite liked the friendship between the main character and the love interest's sister. And the love interest himself was pretty great. His name was Hayden, and Hayden was a theater kid, which was fun for me, because I'm a theater kid. He's nothing like any theater kid I've ever met, but I appreciated him nonetheless. My biggest gripe with it was it included the sentence, "Our lips collided." Now that I think, Lucky in Love had that too. That is my least favorite sentence in a book. Our lips collided. Cliche, too much, take it away. I hate that so much. But other than that, it was a cute read. What's did I give it? Let's see, what did I give it? I gave it a 3 out of 5. Check it out. The next book I read was not a book. Again, it was a play. And that was Shakespeare's The Tragedy of Macbeth. I listened to this on audiobook, guys, and David Tennant was in it briefly, and that brought me infinite amounts of joy.
Bubble, 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 toil and trouble.
That's like what the witches said. It was so entertaining. I wanted Macbeth to be trampled by a horse because the witches prophesied that he will not be killed by a man born of a woman. And of course, my mind did not go to C-section. My mind went to trampled by a horse. So I was a little disappointed by the ending, but this was a solid 4 out of 5 star read / listening / viewing for me. I'd recommend it, and it takes place in Scotland, so you can't go wrong. Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. I read this for my O.W.Ls, which we'll get to a little bit later. This follows Percy Jackson, who is a half-blood. He is half human, half Greek god. His father is Poseidon, and his quest to retrieve Zeus's stolen lightning bolt. He encounters many adventures along the way, some monsters. He and his friends Annabeth and Grover have to get out of some real tough situations. There's a Yankees cap, there are blue jelly beans. I love Rick Riordan. I think he writes incredibly well for middle grade / early YA readers. What? Guys, it says it's now an electrifying rock musical. The Lightning Thief, Percy Jackson, the musical. What if I auditioned for a musical next year with The Lightning Thief? That would be supremely geeky, and I'm in love with that idea now. Then I listened for 34 hours of my life to George R.R. Martin's A Game of Thrones. I loved it overall. As a story, fantastic. Of course, I think it's problematic in its portrayal of women. I have a video about that as well, which I'll link if you are curious. But overall, I loved the world building. The characters were incredibly complex. None of them were purely good. They were all morally gray, and morally gray characters are my favorite kind ever, because his imagination is wild. This book, I got 77 pages into. I'm not DNFing it. No way, Jose. It's carrying on into May, but that is The Winds of War by Herman Wouk. It is so good, guys. I will say the print is really small, and I have trouble with that despite my glasses, but the storyline is so good. The historical fiction is brilliant. This follows a family, an American family whose father is in the Navy, and their adventures / experiences during World War II. It's riveting. I love the characters. There's parts of it in Italy. Like, how romantic is that? I am so excited to finish this book in May so I can talk to you all about it some more. But I have 808 pages to go, so wish me luck. This book I finished last night on audiobook, and that was Always and Forever Lara Jean. This is the last novel in the To All the Boys I've Loved Before series, and I was not planning on reading it because I loathed the second book. Maybe loathed is too strong. But I did not like it whatsoever. I thought it was incredibly boring. I thought the alternate romance, even though I love John Ambrose McLaren, I thought it was kind of because I didn't want her to be with Peter anymore. Like, I was 100% John Ambrose McLaren, and then he was just gone. He was like, I did not like the second one. The reason I really loved the last book was I felt it was a really good wrapping up of the series. I got to go back to Lara Jean, who I adore. She loves vintage clothes. I love vintage clothes. She loves estate sales. I've never been to one, but one day. She bakes. She scrapbooks. I think she's just a fun character to follow. I like her relationship with Peter quite a bit, but even more than that, I love her relationship with her family, and this book really dove into that, which I enjoyed. Moreover, the novel had Lara Jean as a senior in high school, and so she was receiving her acceptance letters and rejection letters from colleges. This book did something I've not seen a lot in YA novels that I really appreciated. Lara Jean did not get into the college she, 1, thought she would get into, and 2, had been dreaming of going to since she'd seen the campus. And I thought that was a really cool way to go about the story, because so much of the time, YA is really idealistic. Everything works out in the end. It's all happily ever after, and everything goes in the end as you hoped it would. But in this book, Lara Jean has to deal with rejection. She has to learn that life doesn't always pan out as you wish it would, and that you have to be flexible and adapt, and sometimes that will lead to even better things than you could have hoped. The last book I read in April, I have 3 hours left to go on the audiobook. I'm gonna finish it today, don't even worry about it. But that is Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. Furiously Happy is kind of halfway a comedy, halfway a self-help book. It's about Jenny Lawson's experience with mental illness, but she tells her story in such a comedic manner, and I love that. As someone who struggles with mental illness myself, I really appreciated how honest this book was without being discouraging. She has these ridiculous anecdotes that just bring me so much joy, and I think it's really cool how she talks about something that's stigmatized and is kind of a hampering in one's life in such a happy and lighthearted and humorous way. I think life is a romance, a tragedy, and a comedy all in one, and Lawson captures all 3 of those elements in this novel. I'd recommend it. Before we go, I would just love to update you all on my O.W.Ls readathon, which I started April 15th because I hadn't heard of it before, but I did complete it with the books that I've shown you already, and I am officially a magical librarian. G from Book Roast is incredible. I went to her Magical Readathon website and I looked at the guidebook and I was just in complete awe. It's so meticulous. It has illustrations. The fonts are there. There's like it's gorgeous. Like that, she is, I'm impressed. It was a wonderful experience. So thank you so much, G. And I'll definitely be doing this again next year. Those are all of the books that I had the pleasure of indulging in this month. I hope you enjoyed this video. I post every Tuesday. Oh, goodness gracious, I need to memorize this. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I will see you all. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.